So how long have you been doing knitting?
For quite a while. I think I was about 8 or 10 years old when I learned from my neighbor when I was growing up.
Cool.
Yeah, it was an older lady, and she was always out gardening, and I would like to hang around with her. And so in the wintertime when she wasn't outside, she'd take me inside, and she was always knitting with her hands. And so she taught me, the first thing she taught me was a pair of slippers.
That's pretty cool. And you said you do it primarily for fun?
Yeah, it's fun, it's relaxing. When I first started, and as I got better at it, it was about the project, getting it done, and having something to say, oh, I knitted something. Now I do it, even if it takes me a year to finish this, I just do it for relaxation.
So would you say it's like hard to focus on one thing at a time before you get it done? Like, do you start something, get distracted by it, and start something else, or is it like...
Yeah, if you talk to a lot of knitters, they'll often have many projects going at one time. So I might get bored. This is an easy project, so I might get bored with that, and I might want to do something different for a while. Or this is an acrylic yarn. It could be used in the summer or the winter, but a wool that's itchy and warm, you might not want to work on that in the summer. So then I work on something like this, which is a cotton yarn.
So what is the easiest thing, the thing that you have found is the easiest thing to knit? The starting point, maybe?
Well, a lot of people start with scarves, which definitely are forgiving, meaning if you make a mistake, you can easily hide it, you can keep going, or if you have to rip it out, and it's easy to do. But sometimes it takes a longer time, and sometimes it can get boring. So a lot of times people start a new knitter on a hat, which takes less time and you can feel accomplished.
Can you tell us about some of the things that you've knitted and show us some of the different things?
I brought a couple things. So I made this, which is just a simple sweater. It's cotton yarn. It's a pattern called Feather and Fan. I didn't design it. I mean, I got a pattern. People get patterns and do them. This is something that probably a lot of people have seen wear around. It's just those little fancy scarves. Mm-hmm. This is actually extremely easy, but I wouldn't recommend it for a new knitter because it's very loose knitting, and sometimes then these things would fly off your needles. But that's a very quick and easy project. I also, for a while, got into knitting socks. And I have a pair on the needles, but I'm not done with it. But this looks really complicated, right? But it's actually in the yarn. The yarn, it's really cool. It's dyed so that when I knit it, this is just basically knitting around in a circle over and over again, but it makes a pattern like that. The pattern's called a ferrule pattern, but normally, old-fashioned wise, people use several strands of different color yarns and have to put them together to make this, but the yarn does it itself. And I brought one other thing here for you. This is, I guess, called a shawlette or something like that, but basically you knit this part and then you pick up and put these leaves on the outside. So you can kind of layer this around a lot of different ways. You could just be like that. If you go around and around, you can kind of make these patterns, kind of lay. Just kind of fun.
And you said before that you also knit for charity, is that what you said?
Yeah, so there's actually quite a lot of different charities out there that accept knitted projects. And this one here is actually it's a prayer shawl that I'm kind of designing as I go, so it kind of looks funny, but it's going to be a triangular prayer shawl, so like triangle down the back. But when I started it out, because I love this Feather and Fan pattern, it looked to me like a butterfly at the bottom. Okay,
so you mentioned classes. Have you taken advantage of classes in the past, or is that like a popular way to go?
It is very popular, and I've actually never taken a class, and I really would love to. You can take basic knitting just to learn things, but then they teach you, much more difficult techniques. And I would love to take a class. I just have never had the time to do that. There's actually also wool and sheep and wool festivals, which you probably never heard of, but like a state fair, they have these sheep and wool festivals. There's one up in Rhinebeck, New York, and there's one in Maryland, which are two of the biggest in the country. And you go there, and there are literally thousands and thousands of knitters, crocheters, anybody with fiber works. It could be, spinning, dyeing the wool. They also have all kinds of vendors. So this is a prayer shawl, or any kind of shawl. I mean, you can use it for anything. And a lot of times people use shawl pins now to hold these together. they sell those. You can buy fancy buttons to go on your knitted projects. But anyway, at all of those sheep and wool festivals, they have classes. So one of these days I'm going to actually go and take a class, but I just haven't had a chance. But the place across the river does do the classes. They have a lot of classes.
Cool. Sounds good. I think that
Okay.
about does it. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
So have I convinced you want to knit?
Maybe someday. I think I tried when I was in high school. It didn't go very well.
Yeah.